Right, so this is my guide for a kind of shout Healy Guardian build, which starts off with you being a noob and using all your selfish abilities to playing where you have all the awesome abilities and all the team build that you could ever want for. Apologies for my voice, I'm currently quite ill, so if I cough and splutter, then you'll know what that is. Okay, so this is particularly for a Guardian with Hammer, Greatsword, Hammer Staff even, essentially what I've done is I've started with the most defensive basic build that you can possibly imagine, the easiest build that it's possible to play. There are some things that aren't going to change. For a start, every single Guardian must run Shelter. It is the single best heal in the game. It is a big heal, 5k or so, and it gives you 2 seconds worth of block. It is so good, it's untrue. And it's only got a 30-second cooldown. It's such a good ability, every Guardian has to take it. Over the other abilities, yes, the Signet of Resolve gives you more heal, but it's a longer cooldown, and you can still be interrupted and CC'd whilst you're casting it. The others are just not that great. Again, every Guardian likes to take Signet of Judgement because it gives 10% damage reduction, which is kind of cool, but it's a very selfish ability. It gives nothing to your allies because you would never activate it. It's completely pointless to activate it, so never do that. Again, Hold the Line and Stand Your Ground are two skills which every single Guardian must run. Stand Your Ground is fantastic when engaging an enemy for the first time. It breaks stuns, gets you through fields and things. It's such a good ability. Hold the Line is more a condition cleanser. It cleanses 3 conditions, and it's very, very useful to all Guardians. So pop that, not necessarily at the beginning of the fight when you're going into the combat, but use it to cleanse your conditions. And another thing which a lot of new players go for is Renewed Focus. 3 seconds worth of invulnerability. It's kind of cool. However, it's quite a long recharge time, and it only gives you 3 seconds of invulnerability, and you can still get hit by conditions, so you can still die with Renewed Focus. Also, when in Renewed Focus, if by some crazy reason you accidentally hit the dodge button, or dodge to try and get out of an AoE or something like that, your virtues won't recharge and you'll have just wasted your elite. It's kind of crap. So that's essentially as tanky as you can get on the skills. With the traits, this is how every Guardian likes to go: 0, 0, 30, 30, 10. 30 points in honor, it's fantastic. Every single ability does something and it can aid the group. Extra shouts, it's fairly obvious. Faster weapon skills means faster combo field blasting and essentially everything. And Pure Voice, again, that's fantastic. Passive cleansing. 10 points into virtues, fantastic. Gets you extra boon duration, and it gets you extra virtue recharge rate. It's a great thing to have. Also, it gives you 3 seconds of retaliation when you're dazed or CC'd. That's not that great, but it allows you to get the better things over here. And this is the part of the tree that I'm going to try and wean you off of. The Valor tree. Alturistic healing is right at the top of the tree, and yeah, it's a good ability. However, it's an ability which is totally selfish. It helps the group does not help the group in any way, shape or form. And there are far better skills for what they are. To try and make it a bit clearer, when designers design mechanics, they have high power, low skill abilities or mechanics which allow idiot players to get into the game and get used to the game and compete whilst not having a great amount of skill. Altruistic healing is one such ability. The other abilities that I'm going to try and show you are only slightly better than altruistic healing. Even so, they might only be the same as. On a personal level, they're not as good. However, on a team level, they are much better. However, they require a lot more skill to use, and your Guardian becomes less durable as a result. And the armor, which isn't really the point of this guide, but essentially, this is just a boring old PvT set. Personally, the way my Guardian runs is I run a Cleric helmet. I also run a Cleric coat, just to give me a little bit of extra healing power. I end up topping out around about 1,100 when I have 25 stacks of life on my weapon. Obviously I run full soldier runes because that is good defensive abilities plus team build at the end. And before you have the guard stacks ability, you can take Omnumberry Bread, which gives you 100 vitality and 70 toughness. So how to wean yourself off of all this defensive nonsense. Excuse me. Right, the first thing that you need to do is you need to decrease the defensive abilities of your skills. It's fine to keep altruistic healing in the beginning. The first thing that you need to do, when you're confident enough, get rid of Signet of Judgement. Swap it for Sanctuary. This is a team build move, rather than Signet of Judgement, which is a selfish move. Sanctuary can do several things. It can block enemies, it can stop enemies rezzing other enemies, and also it can provide healing for friendlies. So it's an excellent ability all in all. Also that means you can retrait and go for consecration skills, use ground targeting. So now you can place it in doorways, you can place it on downed enemies, you can do loads of things with it. It's a long cooldown, yes, and you may only use it once in the fight, but it's definitely worth taking. Certainly for the moment. Nothing is going to ever happen to the armor, so I'm not really going to go back to it. Maybe at the end if I've got a bit of time. Traits don't need to change for the moment. So once you're happy without Signet of Judgement and you've got comfortable with using Sanctuary, then you can swap out Renewed Focus and go for the Tome of Courage. Notice how you're getting more and more builds to do with the team. These are the skills you get with Tome of Courage. You get an awesome heal in a target area. You get a kind of not that great bouncing cleanse. You get protection and regen to allies, which again isn't that great. You get a daze, which maybe, I don't know, it's not that great, and you get a 5-second full heal. To be honest, you really only want to be spamming number 1. That's the best one. If you really have time and you really think it's worth it, very rarely number 5, perhaps. So you've got rid of Renewed Focus, you've got rid of Signet of Judgement. So now all your skills are team build skills. There's nothing there which is totally selfish. So once you've got comfortable with this and you're surviving in World v World and you're doing fine, now is when we start changing the traits down. The first thing that you can do is you can just go down and just take out that 30 points. Keep Purity for the moment and then put the extra 10 points into Virtues. Then you can take Indomitable Courage, which is giving 3 seconds of stability when you use your F3 skill, Virtue of Courage. So to make the transition a bit easier, you can go back to a Signet of Judgement, you can go back to Renewed Focus, because you're running more of a team build now, so you can afford to have 1 or 2 more selfish builds. So again, you don't need to change anything with your gear, you don't need to do anything else apart from swap those 10 points. Then, when you're comfortable with that, same thing again, swap out Signet of Judgement, go for Sanctuary. Same thing again, when you're comfortable with that, try Tome of Courage. And then again, when you're comfortable with all that, you can then go on to the 30 points into the tree, which is where we need to be aiming for. And there it is. Absolute Resolution. So your F2 skill now cleanses conditions on friendlies. 3 conditions to be precise. So now, again, once more go back. Signet of Judgement, Renewed Focus. So now, even though you're still running the same skills as you were with altruistic healing, you still have that 10% damage reduction. You still have those 3 seconds of invulnerability. However, now, what you're gaining is that you're gaining 3 seconds of stability for an extra 5 friendlies. You're also gaining another cleanse every 46 seconds, which cleanses 3 conditions, so you're cleansing 15 extra conditions. This is more of a team build than altruistic healing is. What do you lose with altruistic healing? Well, you lose the fact that you're healing yourself. Essentially, all you're doing is that you're putting your trust in your teammates. You're putting your trust in your teammates to put down water fields. You're putting your trust in your teammates to cleanse your conditions, to give you stability. And think about it this way: if everybody was running altruistic healing, everybody would be selfish, and then when somebody doesn't have their skills, or their skills are on cooldown, there's no one to rely upon, and the whole guild wipes. If you run this build, everybody is working as a team. No single person is being selfish. So once you've made this change into the 30 points into Virtues tree, again, you can go back to Tome of Courage. That's probably the one to go for first, because Signet of Judgement is very good. Then, again, when you're super confident, you can go for Sanctuary, and now you've got a complete 100% team build. There is no skill or trait or anything which is completely self-focused. This is where you want to be aiming for. You want to be aiming for these abilities, and you want to be aiming for this trait line. The individual parts aren't as important as you think they are. This trait line and this trait line are the key things to get from this. These are the skills you need: faster shouts, two-handed mastery, purer voice. Consecration skills use ground targeting, indomitable courage, absolute resolution. The 10 points into Valor is more a vanilla flavour. To be honest, purity is probably just as good, if not better, than strength in numbers. And then, of course, you can start getting onto your armour. Now, like I say, on my particular Guardian, I run a more Healy build, so I run Cleric gear. And then when I have my full stacks of 25 healing, I get up to 875 healing power. Now my accessories aren't quite the same. I've got a few more healing power bits in. But essentially, this is what you end up with. You end up with about 18 or 1900 power. You end up with 18 or 1900 toughness. You end up with about 2000 vitality, and you end up with about 800 healing power. Now, yes, you're not going to be critting very much, and you're not going to be critting very hard either. However, as has been mentioned before, Guardians are not a damage dealing class. That has to be done with the Warriors, the Necromancers, maybe the Mesmers. Once you've got this build set up with your skills and your traits sorted, then you can start mucking around with your gear. Soldier runes are a must. Don't swap them out under any circumstances. A lot of people, it's a very good way of going this particular one. You can go for Cleric, and then that gives you a lot of good bonuses. So if I put Cleric into here, not Cleric, Celestial, it's quite expensive, yes. However, if you manage to do all of it, you can muck around with these, but they don't change too much at all. If you do that with the Celestial, you then get a build that looks something like this: 1700 power, 1700 toughness, 1800 vitality, and then when you get your 25 stacks of life, over 1000 healing power. Now, if you add this onto guard stacks, which gives you an extra 250 vitality, you're getting up to, I don't know, what, 22, 23k health. With Bloodlust add on top of that, you might be getting up towards 25k health on the lowest health pool class in the game. We haven't even got Ascended Trinkets in here yet. And again, this is just running PvT gear. Again, you're not critting very much. But the point is, you need to start from a position of going what your build is. It could be anywhere along this path. It could be right at the beginning, where you're running a completely selfish build, or it could be somewhere near the end. But the idea is that you slowly increase your worth to the team over time as you get more confident. Don't try and take too big a step, because otherwise you'll just die lots and you'll get rage from guildmates and you won't feel too good about it yourself. So take small steps. It doesn't matter if you improve slowly. The important thing is that you improve. That's all guilds will look for. If you're improving, then you'll stay. You could get into any guild in the world. And when you run entirely team-based builds, then you have to be a good player. And again, once you get used to this, if at some point during the stage you find that you're dying lots, for example, say I don't know, say you get up to this point where you go 0, 0, 20, 30, 20. If you find that you're dying lots here, that's fine. You may have found your personal skill wall. That's not a problem. The point is, don't just stick to altruistic healing because it's easy and because you get lots of nice healing abilities. You want to challenge yourself, and you want to push both yourself, and this is the best way of going forwards. When you get to this point where you're dying too much and you are getting rage and you are getting called out for dying quickly, drop down a step. Go back to a place where you're more comfortable. You want to keep challenging yourself to go to the next step, though. That's all I have to say on Guardian team builds. If you have any comments or suggestions,